ESP studies using what's called the Ganzfeld method are quite interesting, and that's the Ganzfeld is a kind of mild sensory isolation procedure. So you have red light shining on your face, you wear headphones, you've got a mask over your eyes, and you essentially, the receiver in this experiment basically just relaxes and free associates. They just describe what comes to their mind. These experiments have got quite a long track record, and on the whole they've got fairly positive results.
Today, here at Kesha and the Creepies, we have a very special guest. I would like to welcome, all the way from Edinburgh, Professor and Dr. Caroline Watt. You worked hard for those titles. I'm going to give you both.
Oh, just call me Caroline.
I read a statistic, and you would know better than I, but about 50% of people believe in the paranormal or in ghosts. Is that about right?
That's about right, yes. And that's taken very broadly. So that would include, for example, traditional religious beliefs. So believing in a god, or believing that you can pray and heal someone or have things happen that you want because of prayer, these would also be regarded as paranormal beliefs. So there's quite a wide definition of what psychologists would count as a paranormal belief. And of that 50%, about half of these people believe they've had a paranormal experience. So that means if you look, you're walking along the street, you're looking at the people around you, about 1 in 4 will have had what they think is a paranormal experience. And that's, to me, why it's obviously of interest to psychologists to study.
Well, even I didn't know that religion and spirituality. So even if you have a spiritual experience or a very religious experience, or even participate in praying, that you would be part of the 50%.
Yes, that would be counted as part of the 50% because of the aspect that, the sense of influence where one person wishes something and something happens. That would be a paranormal claim. So if you pray for something to happen, like a person to be healed, that would be a paranormal claim, essentially. So there have been studies, for example, looking at the power of prayer, and they come under the category of parapsychology because there's no obvious normal mechanism to explain, if people get better through prayer, what else is going on if it's not paranormal.
In the research that you've done, has it changed your mind at all, or are you still neutral, or do you try to stay as neutral as you can, or do you find yourself being swayed in one direction or the other?
Well, I'll tell you what I've changed. I'm not convinced yet. I'm talking about extrasensory perception studies. That's where I think the strongest evidence is. So there are studies that look at mind over matter using, it sounds really boring, but using random number generators, and they have very, very weak effects in them, and I don't find them very persuasive studies. But the ESP studies using what's called the Ganzfeld method are quite interesting, and that's the Ganzfeld is a kind of mild sensory isolation procedure. So you have red light shining on your face, you wear headphones, you've got a mask over your eyes, and you essentially, the receiver in this experiment basically just relaxes and free associates. They just describe what comes to their mind. So it's not like try to guess what the sender is sending, it's just describe what's in your head. And these experiments have got quite a long track record, and on the whole they've got fairly positive results. So I'm following up on that with my own work. So my view is that there's definitely something there in these experiments, but we don't really have much clue as to what's going on. So we've seen some patterns. So for example, studies with selected participants do better than studies with unselected participants. What that means is that people who are believe in the paranormal, who have had paranormal experiences, who are creative, and who may have practiced some kind of mental disciplines such as meditation, or who are interested in their dreams and keep a dream diary, these participants tend to do better in these experiments than just a random person pulled in off the street. So there's some patterns, if you like, that suggest there's something going on, but we don't really understand what it means.
So it's almost like being open to it.
It could be. It could be that it's a kind of a weird experience doing that experiment. You know, sitting in a comfy chair, you do a relaxation exercise, and you've got this red light on. You've got goggles on your eyes, and you're speaking out loud while someone else listens to you. It's a bit like dreaming, but someone's in the room taking notes at the same time, and it's a weird experience. Maybe it's simply the case that people who are creative or who are good at meditating are more relaxed in that environment and are better able to notice what's going on inside their head and better able to describe what's going on. So we're not quite sure why these people do better, and that's one of the things that our work is trying to look at.
To hear the entire podcast, listen and follow Kesha and the Creepies on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.